guys, welcome to today's video, and today I'm going to talk about Purito sunscreen alternatives if you are a fan of the Purito sunscreen or the Claire's or Keep Cool. I thought I'd give you some good alternatives. The majority of these are fragrance and alcohol free. There are a few exceptions. I'll mention those, but I've been vetting these since this whole Purito thing happened, and I've got what I think is a good list of alternatives. Okay. So, if you have oily skin or light feeling is your main goal with sunscreen, I've got several alternatives. The Sunplay Clear Water Sunscreen SPF 50 is a great option. This one is fragrance free. It applies very clear. It has 4 filters, mineral and chemical filters, organic and inorganic, and a super light water texture. So, this one is really nice. If you want something that's really light feeling, it applies pretty clear, smooths over skin nicely, and works pretty good. In my opinion, 4 filters is great protection, so this one is a nice option. The Anessa Essence UV Sunscreen Mild Milk SPF 35 is also a nice one. This one is alcohol and fragrance free. It contains 4 filters. Both mineral and chemical filters, no white cast, light feeling. This one's perfect for dry or oily skin and applies clear. It is, well, excuse me, that was Lincoln sneezing very loudly. It is lightly hydrating, applies clear, works nicely under makeup and everything like that. So it is expensive. The bottle is little, but it's a really nice option. So another good alternative. One from a brand I'm going to review soon, the NALC sunscreen, Perfect Waterproof UV Protect SPF 50. This one I got from my sunscreen guardian angel in Japan, and I hadn't heard of the brand before, but instantly fell in love with this, became a hit from the first time I tried it. This one is alcohol-free, fragrance-free, contains 3 filters, no white cast. This one contains all chemical organic filters. And it feels very light on skin. No white cast at all. It's invisible. And really is, in my opinion, probably the closest to feeling like the Purito sunscreen that I've found. So great for oily skin or dry skin. Nice option. Not the easiest to get, so you're going to have to do some researching if you're thinking about picking this one up. Because thankfully I was lucky enough to get sent. But overall, generally, it's not the easiest to find. So, 3 filters, alcohol-free, fragrance-free. Let me wipe so I can do more swatches. You can see some of them. They all dried down pretty invisibly and just moderately all hydrating. So, there we go. Okay. So, this one is the main exception. This one does have both alcohol and fragrance. Very light scent. It's the Cosrx Aloe Soothing Sun Cream. This one has 5 filters, both mineral and chemical filters, geared towards probably non-sensitive skin. Feels very light on skin, though, and some people love it. And I know Cosrx kind of was mentioned when this whole Purito thing broke out, but Cosrx, after doing some research, they make their own sunscreens. Man, did I get a big swatch of that one, but anyway. But once you smooth it in, because it does have a little bit of mineral filters, a slight white cast, but very light. And I think for most people, once you smooth it in, it looks fine. So it's a decent option, but again, that one does have alcohol and fragrance. So I debated not even mentioning it, but I thought I would because it's still a decent alternative. So, okay, another one. This one's a newer one. This is the Skin Aqua UV Super Moisture Essence Gold version with SPF 50. There is a similar version in an ivory colored bottle, which is also a great option. Fragrance-free, does have a little bit of alcohol in it. A good amount of alcohol in it, I guess. Very slight white cast, and this one has 4 filters in it. We've got all chemical filters. We've got tinsorb S, tinsorb M, uvinal A+, so we've got very good protection. Slight white cast, probably from that tinsorb M in there. But overall, it's a great option, so if you have oily skin, it feels really nice and moisturizing, but doesn't feel thick at all, so that's nice. Okay, so if protection is your main goal and the aesthetics of it aren't as important, I've got several options. The Aloe Kenbo Extra UV Gel SPF 50 is a nice option. It does have a fair amount of alcohol in it, but it has no fragrance. This one contains 4 SPF filters. We've got both mineral and chemical filters. The mineral filters give it just a slight white cast, but once it soaks in, the white cast is barely noticeable unless you have deeper skin tones. You probably will notice it a little bit more. But a really good sunscreen. This one has done well in the tests from what I've seen. A lot of actual like tests where people put it on their back and then judge the pigmentation of it from the sun. And this one has done quite well in those. Another good one, not, again, quite as aesthetically pleasing, the Ryman P20 SPF 30 Face Sunscreen. This one is fragrance and alcohol-free. It is a bit thicker than some of them, but if you have sensitive skin, this one's nice because it doesn't have fragrance or alcohol in it. It does have a slight white cast. Excuse me, 5 filters in this one. Strong UVA protection from the filters. All chemical filters. Does feel slightly thick, and if you have very oily skin, might not be the best option, although I've read reviews from people with both dry and oily skin who've really enjoyed it. So there we go with that one. Good alternative. Another good one, if protection is your main goal, this is the Groom sunscreen, which is manufactured with Altruist, which has a very popular sunscreen as well. So Groom makes this with Altruist. I think it's just the Altruist sunscreen formula that Groom contracts with them. But this one's got an impressive 8 filters. Fragrance and alcohol free. Very strong UV and UVB protection. Both chemical and mineral filters. Texture of it's a bit thick. And if you have sensitive skin, it might not be the best option. I've heard from those with sensitive skin that just could not use this very much. 8 filters is a lot of filters, and it just increases the likelihood that you're going to have a sensitivity to one of them when they use so many. But very, very strong protection. If you don't have sensitive skin and can make this one work, you're going to get very good protection, UVB and UVA. Okay, another one with a slight white cast, the Isn't Tree Hyaluronic Watery Sun Gel, SPF 50. Fragrance and alcohol free. This one's got a slightly thicker texture to it. So, once it applies, it's got a slight white cast. And if you have deeper skin tone, you'll probably notice it more. But 6 filters. They're all chemical filters. Fragrance, alcohol free. So, another good option for sensitive skin. And I'm convinced this one contains pretty darn good protection with 6 filters. 6 filters is a lot. Okay, so if you have dry skin and hydration is a big concern with your sunscreen, I've got several alternatives for you. Okay, so we've got the Kiss Me Mommy UV Aqua Milk SPF 50. I think they make this as a parent and child sunscreen, I have a feeling. Alcohol free. Fragrance free, no white cast, 3 filters, all chemical filters, and we've got tinsorb S and uvinal A plus in there, so I'm convinced this one provides pretty good UVA protection as well, and applies pretty clear, so very nice option. The Verdio UV Moisture Essence, they also make a milk version. This one's great. I have a feeling it's more geared towards dry skin because it is on the hydrating end of things, but I reviewed this one recently. This one, alcohol fragrance free, no white cast at all, applies pretty clearly. For filters, they're all chemical filters, but it certainly is on the hydrating side of things because it kind of sets to kind of a slightly greasy finish. So if you have oily skin or even dry skin, setting this with a light powder will help that, but also a great option. They came out with an SPF 30 version of this too, so something to keep in mind. Okay, 3 more to mention. And the Can Make Mermaid UV Gel SPF 50. They've got 2 versions of this. They've got one that's kind of has an ivory shimmery finish, and they've got one that has a natural finish. So keep that in mind when you're purchasing it. But this one feels more like a moisturizer, and a lot of people have questioned the efficacy of this one. However, I'm convinced this one is a pretty darn good sunscreen. It feels like a moisturizer. It's fragrance and alcohol free. It's got 5 filters, both mineral and chemical filters. Barely any white cast, but just keep in mind that there are 2 versions of this one. So, but it applies nicely. It feels very hydrating, like a moisturizer. And for an average day in or out, I think this one's pretty good. In the 5 filters, I'm convinced this one provides pretty darn good protection. And one more for dry skin. The SBR Sick of It SPF 50. It's kind of a liquidy texture. This one, alcohol-free, fragrance-free. Applies pretty clear. It is on the slightly hydrating edge of things. So keep that in mind. You might want to set this with some powder if you're using it. It's got 4 filters. They're all chemical filters. Works very nicely. And there's one more I wanted to mention, but they're still testing it. That is the Beat Shield from Crave Beauty. They're still doing some tests on it, so I didn't want to fully recommend it until those tests come back. But I have a feeling the tests that will come back will show this one's a decent sunscreen because of the filters in here. It is on the hydrating edge of things, so keep that one in mind. But overall, I'm hoping that based on these recommendations that everybody can find a good sunscreen that will work well for them, for their needs, especially if you're somebody that was using the Purito sunscreen and now aren't so sure about it. I'm convinced all of these are pretty darn good sunscreens. They will do a good job protecting you from UVA and UVB rays. They each have their own little quirks, but these are all good alternatives. And just keep them in mind. I'll post a list of the features of each of these, if it's alcohol-free or fragrance-free. And hopefully, out of one of these, you'll be able to find something that works well for you and your skincare needs. And be sure to use sunscreen. And you know what? Even using this every day is better than using no sunscreen. So if you haven't found anything you like and you're not using any sunscreen, just even use this. Even if it's SPF 19, you're still better off using this than using nothing. Or the Claire's. Claire's, we still haven't heard back much about their tests, so not exactly sure about that. But anyway, these are all great sunscreens. So if you have a sunscreen that you love and want to nominate it as a good alternative, leave a comment. Love hearing from you guys, and stay tuned for more tomorrow. Thank you so much.